Hello, everyone. I'm Krasi, and we have very, very important celestial event today. And this is actually the most significant appearance of the moon for the whole year. It is happening today, this evening of the 22nd of March. Since very, very ancient times, this date was considered to be the celestial new year. This was the most, if you want, also ominous day, because in the ancient cultures, I'm sure that this is not only valid for Babylon and Sumer, um, many ancient cultures, the astrologer or the priest, they would really watch the sky. They had these very special places made especially for that, to watch the sky. And based on what they see, they will describe how the whole year will look like. So this is the most important day. Yes, we do have second such important day with a bit it is very significant, and this is the second day of the year of the winter solstice. But when we speak about solstices, let me clarify something. You read, you hear everywhere, that yesterday, when the moon was still invisible, yesterday, 22nd, 21st of March, we have the day of the solstice. And this is designed to mislead you, to manipulate. And since many, many years, this is what we hear. But no, we need to see the first appearance of the moon in order to say that this is the day of the solstice and this is the spring, not solstice, excuse me, of the equinox. Um, we need to see the moon, and you will see the moon this evening. Now, I spoke about this many times just to remind you. We have two traditions. I think the Chinese astrology still applies the older tradition. It is not wrong. I even consider it maybe more correct. But anyhow, the more ancient tradition, which I know from the Sumerian mythology, astrology, is that the day of the solstice is when the before the sun enters the point of the vernal equinox, the moon appears, and then we have the day of the vernal equinox, and then this is the most important day of the year. Later on, when the Babylonians took over, the Akkadians, this tradition changed, and you will see, like now, the sun entered the point of the vernal equinox, and then we waited for the moon to appear. This is by default, and you have the day, the new year, the celestial new year. This is 1st of Nisan. For the Sumerians, what I told you was 1st of Nisan. For the Babylonians, and what is more applicable maybe to our culture, is now 22nd of March. The moon appears this evening in Pisces after the sun entered Pisces. Now, this is very interesting. This year, indeed, it's slightly different than years before, because we have an omen. What is omen? It is something, it is event which deviates from the commonly accepted event, something that deviates from what we know, what we accepted as normal. So, first of all, where is the vernal equinox? It is in the 5th degrees of Pisces, because the equinoxes and the solstices, they move backwards on the zodiac, and from the moment when the equinox entered Pisces, this was 30th, 29 degrees Pisces. It takes approximately 2000 something years for the equinox point to move into Pisces, and it is about to leave Pisces, and in about 360 years, it will enter Aquarius, but again backwards, 30 degree, 29, 28, and so forth. This is just bracket and the brackets. So, what will happen this evening? Very interesting. We'll look at this on many layers. The moon appears around the 22nd degrees of Pisces. Nothing strange. This is the traditional situation. The moon usually has to appear around these degrees. But then the moon appears exactly conjoining Jupiter. On the sky, this will look as conjunction. From most parts of the world, I think in some parts of the world, the moon will be making occultation, meaning the moon will make something like eclipse, or the moon will darken, it will be eclipsing Jupiter. This is not very rare. I spoke before, I had video about Jupiter eclipsing the moon. This phenomena was very much discussed in by the ancients. There are several ominous texts which describe occultation of the moon. But here, more interestingly, this is happening on the day when we look at the sky in order to predict what will happen for the whole year to come. And when you have occultation of the moon of Jupiter by the moon, we have an event, and this event is an omen, because this is deviation from the commonly accepted ideal picture of the day of the vernal equinox, which is this evening. So what is this meaning? First of all, when this will happen, Jupiter will be in Pisces. Jupiter is extremely powerful in Pisces. So up until now, he's been giving us the most of his powers because he's ruling Pisces. Obviously, he helped us, by softening, by sextile, the otherwise hard aspects of Saturn, who until end of January was in Capricorn. So he made a lot for us in terms of blessing, spiritual awakening, abundance. So he did a lot. But now the moon will darken Jupiter, and look at this very symbolically. The moon appears for the first time, and right in this moment, the moon will be in this day, 1st of Nisan, most important day of the year, the moon will darken Jupiter. And another thing I will tell you, the moon is darkening Jupiter, who is in a heliacal phase. He's not just normally sitting in Pisces, but in 5 days, he is disappearing. Meaning not only that the moon will hide Jupiter, but the sun will hide Jupiter only 5 days after. And this is happening in interesting degrees in Pisces. Let's try to analyze that. First, Jupiter in Pisces, obviously, Jupiter cannot be ever more powerful than in Pisces or in Cancer, of course. And then we have emphasis on Jupiter. Emphasis on Jupiter because the moon is like saying, now you have to be silent. And we are changing kind of your duties on the sky. Jupiter is the abundance. Jupiter, by the way, is the king, and I'll explain you why. I make this connection again from the Babylonian mythology because in the Babylonian mythology, Jupiter is represented by god Marduk. This is also the chief, the patron divinity of Babylon, god Marduk. The whole Enuma Elish epic of creation is created around the image of the god Marduk. Very important, considered to be good for the humanity. I'm talking about the ancient mythological story. And also, you see, he's related to what? To abundance. He's the king. In some texts, they call him the king. And Mercury, Nabu, who is ruling the writing system, even astrology, eloquence, Mercury Hermes, the greatest knowledge. So Jupiter, who is Marduk, is the king, and Mercury, who is Nabu, is the prince. So they call them. And the king is darkened. The king will be eclipsed. We will have very, very serious unique situation with the king. When we say king, take it as it will be said in our days. This could be any figure who has major ruling power. This could also be the Pope, by the way, because Jupiter is also the guru. He's the philosophical and the religious guru. So we're talking about disappearance, also take it from the broad sense of major political or royal or any powerful figure, you know. So this is what can happen. Most probably it will. Um, so even in this, in the ominous texts, and there were many about, especially about occultation of the moon over Jupiter, they always relate these to the king, but not in a good sense. There will be major figure or figures in the world which will be replaced. Either they will be taken down or they will be simply be replaced. It can be, but always, you know, killing or just removed. This we will not, we don't know, but there is a square by Mars, so it could happen in a very harsh way, by the way. So, and not only that Jupiter, like I said, will be um, darkened, eclipsed by the moon, but he disappears. He's naturally disappearing. This disappearance is not an omen, but it is a part of the omen. And look what is happening. In the same moment, Jupiter, when it disappears in 5 days, in 4 days from now, Mercury becomes visible again in Pisces. Yes, you will say Mercury is fallen in Pisces. This will be about reviewing truth, but fallen Mercury, what truth? How? Pisces, water signs, can be related to huge manipulation. So, yes, truths, speech will come out, or the great political figure, not great, that nobody is great now, I'm sorry, but the mighty, in a way, political figure will be taken down and will be replaced by somebody like Mercury in Pisces. And Pisces is manipulation. Pisces, why manipulation? The water signs can, in their lower vibrations, can be related to manipulation and illusion enormously. And also, Mercury is fallen. He becomes visible but fallen, detriment in Pisces. So this is very significant. In addition, this is related to money because Jupiter is always about abundance and money. And also this, you know, this first appearance, this particular picture is very much about you know, disappearance of abundance. Jupiter is naturally ruling the ninth house. In astrology, this could be replacement of one philosophical system, which we classically know, by another, which we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful with, because, like I said, the speech, the knowledge, the information comes in the form of Mercury fallen. You know, something can come up and can have the form of attempts to manipulate us. But of course, this will be related to financial institutions. This will be further eclipse of the money systems, definitely, because Jupiter is naturally related to money. His abundance, Jupiter is money. So this is very major, very significant. On this particularly, I will not look at every single ascendant as I usually do, and there is a reason. Because classically, for our era of 2,500 years, classically, of course, we know, always the moon appears in Pisces. This will change when we enter when the point of the vernal equinox enters Aquarius, which will be in about 300 something years. So the reason why I'll not be looking at the 12 ascendants is because we have repetitive situation, and I don't want to come up with news which would not be news for you. But secondly, because this is very global, very general, very important. This will make the next 6 months interesting. Why I say 6 months? Because the picture will slightly change After we have the autumn equinox, which will happen when the sun enters 5th degrees of Virgo, and then we have the first lunar eclipse appearing also in Virgo, but this will be in 6 months. So for the next 6 months, basically, this is the picture. And I will tell you, the super importance of this day is noted in many, many ancient texts. Even read the translation of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. His trip is ruled by these points and by the Ekitu festivals. Now, 2 words about the Ekitu festivals. This evening, the moon appears, and if we look at Babylon or other ancient cities, Babylon was like what now would be New York, for example. It was the center of the world. So people would be gathering around, everything would be happening around the temple. They also would make a house which they built especially for the event, which is out of the city. But all divinities would be praised, would be invited with the patron Marduk, which is Jupiter. The patron Marduk. This is for Babylon. For the other cities, they would have other patrons. It would be Inanna. For Uruk, it would be Inanna. You know, for Nabu would be the patron of other cities, and so on and so on. Every city would have patron divinity. So the priest would make special rituals. There would be even made a ritual for the cleansing of the karma of the king. First, they would even, they would even insult the king, and then they would forgive him and praise him. They made a lot. They even performed sacred marriage and whatnot. Very interesting. 12 days. 12 days. They start this evening when the moon appears. Look at the moon. Watch the moon. See what you feel. Then this will be happening around you. This will be your horoscope for you, for the people, for your for your area for the next 6 months. Look and see. Would you see Jupiter and the moon conjoining? Would you see, or they will be eclipsed? It will matter. Of course, we can name the person that will be taken down, but this means to look at every single horoscope and to look in which areas of the world Jupiter will be eclipsed. Then you have the most of influence. I think part of America, in Europe, not you see him in Europe. In Europe, this will be looking like conjunction. So anyhow, this will be major, and it will be noisy. So this is about this particular important event. For the rest, this whole stellium, Jupiter, Moon, Mercury, Sun, they are squared by Mars. So it will be noisy indeed. This will be noisy because Mars is in Gemini until 12th May. And on this particular first day, he's squaring this stellium. Secondly, yes, there is a second occultation tomorrow or after tomorrow. The moon will be eclipsing Venus. I will not take this as a major event, very significant, because it's not happening on 1st of Nisan. Yes, it is important. It's not rare. The moon is eclipsing planets all the time. But when the moon is eclipsing planets on the 1st of Nisan, it's important, definitely important. So this is another thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't take this as bad event. No, there will be things to see, to watch. The situation with the banks, it's far from being over. Watch and see. Also, we have to be careful what informal information will be served to us, what inform of spiritual new age movement or knowledge or philosophy will be shown to us. Because I told you, Mercury appears, yes, but in Pisces. This can be a major lie, by the way. So I wish you Happy New Year. I know how it sounds. But this is New Year. I don't really give any attention to the classical New Year. For me, this is the major New Year, and only this will create for you real, uh, will show you the real picture on how the world will look like. So I wish you all the best, and any moment I will also record the 12 ascendants for you for the next 15 days. Then we have another major event on the 14th of April. Saturn becomes visible. I keep saying 4th of April. I don't know why. It's type lapsus. Saturn becomes visible on 14th of April. Major event. I will discuss this with you. And then also, shortly after Saturn, Jupiter is entering Aries to meet their Rahu. This is also major. So these 6 months after this New Year's Day, after 1st of Nisan, will be interesting. All the best. I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.